Hello, welcome to Strings, Rhythms, and Theory. I am Ricardo and I'll be your teacher. I'm glad that you can make it. Throughout this course, we are going to go through my book, The Complete Basic Rhythm Counting Subdivisions book. That you can get it through Amazon, but if not, don't worry about it. We're going to go through it in this course. We are going to begin talking about time signatures. Now, what is time signature? This is a very important term because you use it. So it's very important that you understand it. You use it all the time and you might not know what it means, but you use it, okay? So let's begin. Time signature, what is that? Time signature gave us the information of how we are going to group all of the music notes or the musical composition. Everything, every single note that you see on first measures or any measures or any composition, we're going to group those notes together in a specific way. Okay? So the time signature not only gives us that information of how we are going to group them, but also is going to let us know what musical figure, what musical note, okay, whether it's a quarter note, whether it's a half note, whether it's a whole note, what musical figure is going to take the value of 1. With this information, guys, we have to understand that not always a quarter note is 1. Not always a half note is 2. Not always a whole note is 4. So those values are going to change in accordance to what the time signature tells us. Meditate on that, okay? Because this is very important for you to understand. Again, time signature. Give us the information of how we are going to group the music notes and what musical note or musical figure takes the value of 1. That's it. Now, let's see how that happens, okay? We all seen this type of numbers at the beginning of composition. Sometimes at the beginning, sometimes halfway. At any given time, somewhere in the musical composition, you will see these numbers. They're not equations in mathematics, okay? These are time signatures in music, okay? And they have a meaning. Figure that, okay? So this is how we're going to divide it. This is how we're going to break it apart. We're going to talk about the number at the top and at the number at the bottom. We're going to learn what the number at the top means and what the number at the bottom means, okay? The top number, we call him a numerator, tells us how many beats to count, yeah? So sometimes you will see a 4, you count 1, 2, 3, 4, and go back to 1. Again, if you see a 3, you count 1, 2, 3, and go back to 1. If it's a 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and go back to 1. No matter the number that you see there, you're going to count to that number and go back to 1. It's very important that you understand this. The number at the top tells us how many beats we are going to count. Okay? How many beats we have to have in each measure. Yeah? Again, the number at the top, the numerator, is going to tell us how many beats we are going to count or how many notes we are going to group in each measure. In this instance, we have a 4. So it's going to be 4 beats in each measure. 4 beats. We're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4 and go back to 1. Simple. That's it. Questions? All right, let's go. Let's continue. The bottom number. Now, this is where everything gets complicated for many people, but it's not. Okay, it's very important that you understand this part. The bottom number, we call it the denominator. This number represents a musical figure. Again, the bottom number represents a musical figure. Let's see. If we have a denominator of 2, that means that now in this composition on this part of the composition, every single half note takes the value of 1. Normally you would say, well, wait a minute, but a half note is 2. No, the time signature is not the same. It's telling me now that the half note is no longer 2, now takes 1 beat. If I see a 4, like normally we see, it tells us that the quarter note is 1. But if we see an 8, now it's telling us that the eighth note is 1, takes the value of 1. So that denominator is very important that you understand it. If you see a 2, now that means that the half note is 1. If it's a 4, the quarter note is 1. If it's an eighth, then the eighth note is 1. And it could be any other number, okay? So it's very important that you understand this. A 2, a 4, or an 8 for now, okay? When you see a denominator with a 2, a 4, an 8, a 2 is a half note, a 4 is a quarter note, and the eighth is the eighth note. That takes the value of 1. Questions? Now, this is how you can see them, okay? For you to understand, I broke it down in this way. A 2 by 2 tells us what? That we're going to count to 2, or we're going to have 2 beats per measure, and the note, the musical figure that takes 1 beat on that measure is the half note, a 2 by 2. Now, a 3 by 8 is going to tell me that I'm going to count to 3 and go back to 1, but the note that takes 1 beat on that measure now is the eighth note. A 4 by 4 we already know. So if you see a 4 by 4, you see now it's the same as a 4 on top of the quarter note. If you see a 2 by 2, it's a 2 at the top, half note at the bottom. That will be the same. You're not going to see it this way, okay? But this is what it means. The bottom number, the denominator, is just a representation of a musical figure. Okay, so let's back a little bit and make sure that we understand this and that we are tracking this. Okay, again, okay, the numerator tells us how many beats we are going to count, how many beats are going to be on this measure. Okay, if it's a 4, 4 beats per measure. If it's a 2, 2 beats per measure. If it's a 10, 10 beats per measure. However, the bottom number is going to tell me what musical figure is going to take the value of 1. Okay, let's continue. So all these time signatures that you see here, you will see them one day, or you will play them one day, or you might not see them ever. But again, not because we don't see it, it means that we're not going to see them. Okay, so remember, all of these time signatures give us the same information. We have a numerator and then we have a denominator. Very well, let's continue. So we have what is called simple meters and compound meters. Simply put, a simple meter subdivided into 2 equal parts. Okay, so every single beat you can break it even halfways. Even halfway. For example, you have a whole note. If you divide it right in half, you get what? 2 half notes. If you divide those 2 half notes, then you get 4 quarter notes, and so on, so on, so on. However, when we talk about compound meters, which we are going to go more in depth in following videos, the compound meter breaks the time in 3 equal parts, not in 2. We call them compounds because they divide the time in 3s, not in half, not in 2s, but on 3s. Okay, don't worry about this part because we are going to go into depth more later on the videos. Okay, let's continue. Okay, so in simple meters, we can break the time in half, right in half, just like we mentioned before. If you take a quarter note and you divide it, you get 2/8 notes. If you take a half note and you divide it in half, you get 2 quarter notes, and so on, so on. Okay, so we are going to practice how we are going to count these numbers and how we are going to play them in our instruments. Okay, we are going to go into more in depth on the subdivisions of a simple meter in our next video, but for now let's just count this way. Okay, 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4. Now, it's very important that every time you go to the next number, when you count 1 to the 2 to the 3 and to the 4, from 1 to 2 have to be the same distance in length than the 2 and 3 and then the 3 and 4. Okay, so we cannot do this 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4 when we are counting. Okay, we are going to keep this as simple as possible. So for this, we are going to use the metronome at 100 BPM, okay, beats per minute. Here we go. 1 2 3 go. 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4. Very well. Too easy, right? Now, how can we take this and apply it to our instrument? Let's see. Now, you should have downloaded the PDF that is on file, Exercise 1, Video 1. This is the PDF that we are going to be using along with the metronome and the video of our interpretation on the cello. Okay? There is a special note that I want to bring up before we start. So we have four quarter notes, okay, and we count 1 2 3 4, go back to 1, just like we have been talking about. However, I want you to know, and this is your way of practicing, that normally you're going to begin down bow, up bow, down bow, up bow. Okay, that will be the normal way to begin your exercise. 4 quarter notes. The first one begin down, and the second one up, the third one down, and the fourth one up. Okay, now during your exercise of this PDF, you have around 8 exercises. You can choose how you're going to begin. Okay, you can choose to go down, up, or down bow, down, up, or down, up, down, etc., etc. Okay, on this exercise that you're going to see the videos, everything is going to begin down bow. Okay, down bow, up, down, up. No changes on that. You have to begin to work on your own bowing during this exercise, whether it's down, down, or up, up, or you want to begin with up, the up bow and then down. You take that decision and you work the exercises that way. But be specific. Make sure that you practice in some way, and then you move to the next variation, and then the next variation, and the next variation, and so on and so on. This will only make you better. Okay? If you have any questions, please write me and I will get back to you. Okay? Now, let's practice.